Good evening, and thank you all for being with us tonight. My name is Kay Klass, and I serve as co-chair of the Jewish Federation's Israel Engagement Committee, along with John Stahl, my co-chair. I'm very pleased to welcome you this evening to the third community event in the Jewish Federation of Greater Washington's Imagine Israel Changemaker series. Federation introduced Imagine Israel a little over a year ago to help our community deepen their personal connections to Israel. Through this initiative, we hope to inspire, engage, and educate members of our Greater Washington community with Israel in a more meaningful way. But instead of telling you all about the inspiring Imagine Israel programs, let me show you. Through programs like the Changemaker series, Imagine Israel will connect you to Israel and Israelis through the lens of social change, with a special focus on issues of social justice and civil society. We are proud to be the first federation in the country to develop an Israel engagement platform around social justice issues. What better community to lead the way than Greater Washington? Imagine Israel reflects our community's desire to not only visit Israel and make meaningful connections to its people, but to become more literate about the issues facing Israel and Israeli society and how we can make a real sustained impact. Some of you here this evening may be attending a Federation event for the very first time. To you, we extend a special, warm welcome and hope you will soon explore Jewish life through Federation, where you can live your passion, voice your hunger for change, and express what is important to you with like-minded peers, families, mentors, leaders, community members, and volunteers. Tonight, I challenge each of you to do more than think and feel, but to channel your passion, your talents, your interests, and your whole self as you listen to this evening's Changemaker and realize that together we can make a real difference. You see, our impact is extraordinary in addressing the 6 critical needs in our community. At Federation, we take seriously our responsibility to ensure that needs are met, that our community becomes stronger, more vibrant, and more full of life. And we work hard to foster and strengthen our connection to Jewish life in Israel and around the world. We hope you'll take some time to learn more about our work. Imagine how our community might be different if we all do Jewish instead of be Jewish. Federation recognizes that just like in Jewish life, each of us feels connected to Israel in different ways, for different reasons, and with different levels of interest and passion. This is why Imagine Israel offers such a variety of programming options. We want to enable you to make Israel yours and to help you do that in ways that suit you best, whether it be through our Imagine Israel podcast, blog, or other events. Now, please join me in welcoming Chief Executive Officer of the Jewish Federation of Greater Washington and tonight's moderator, Steve Rackett.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you all for being with us tonight. Welcome to my friends from the deaf community. As Kay mentioned, this event marks the third Imagine Israel Changemakers program in a series of in-depth conversations with prominent Israeli agents of change, whose unique ideas, influential actions, and fascinating perspectives have a strong impact on Israeli society. Federation's Imagine Israel initiative has revolutionized the ways in which we connect to and relate to Israel and Israelis. I am so proud of Federation's initiative, and I want to thank all of the leaders of our community who had the vision and determination to make this a reality for our community, and a special shout out to Kay Klass for her leadership as well. So thank you, Kay. Tonight's Changemaker program is especially close to my heart. As CEO of the Federation and as someone with a disability, the movement to promote disability inclusion is personal. I've had a lifelong hearing loss, and I never dwelled on it. In fact, I did everything I possibly could to avoid the subject. And I did that because I wanted the focus to be on my skills, or lack thereof, and my worth as an individual in contributing to the society as a whole, not on the fact that I had a disability. But I made a decision a couple of years ago to use my bully pulpit, if you will, to speak on behalf of those who do not have a voice, and to demand that our community take a leadership role in being inclusive, and that extend beyond just the Federation, but to our synagogue, to our agencies, to our entire community. Because unless we include everyone, we do not have a whole community, and that is critical. Almost 20% of individuals in our community have a disability, and virtually all of us at some point as we age will have memory, mobility, motion, all kinds of other challenges, sight and hearing challenges. And so if not today, then at some point, each of us will have a disability challenge. Inclusion is a priority at Federation, and I'm proud of the ways we integrated this cultural change into our programs and our language. When we host a disability inclusion resource fair for young adults and families to explore employment opportunities at local organizations, we are creating cultural change. When we develop an online toolkit, customizable for every organization to utilize, we are creating cultural change. The partner agencies we support both locally and globally are part of this cultural change. From our preschools that address students' special rights through vibrant, inclusive programs for children, teens and adults to transportation services for seniors and adults with disabilities, we see examples of change taking root. Weaving our efforts together, the work we do counts even more. Cultural change is never easy. Inclusion is much more than simply building a ramp for wheelchair access, as important as that is. It's a mindset and an approach to communal life which takes into consideration the needs of a changing community. It's how we think about those around us, all of those around us. It's language, and most of all, it's action. Thank you for being here tonight to take part in the movement to build a stronger, more vibrant community where everyone counts. Federation has invited an inspiring icon tonight to share Israel's story of cultural change with all of us. With us tonight is Oren Helman, Israel's leading disability inclusion advocate, who's on a personal mission to empower individuals with disabilities and create equal employment opportunities for all Israeli citizens. Oren has extensive experience working closely with Israel Knesset to champion stronger civil rights and employment regulation to protect and include individuals with disabilities in Israel's workforce. His legislative approach to employment expansion has transformed the way the Israeli workforce employs, integrates, and includes workers with disabilities in the workplace. Please join me in welcoming Oren Helman. Like some kind of Washington State diplomatic event here. Okay. So in my role as Oprah tonight, my job is to prompt Oren to tell us a bit more about the work that he's doing. But I promised him that I would be interrupting him from time to time. So please don't think me rude. He said, that's great, it makes me feel at home in Israel. But the idea is to get a conversation going rather than simply, provide a lecture, and he's all for that. So, Oren, tell our friends here, what's your story?
First, thank you for inviting me. And I came here because I think that Israel needs a change. I'm a Zionist, I love Israel. I think Israel is the greatest place on earth, and forgive me. I'm sure you think the same. But we need some changes in Israel. And I think that we face lots of challenges. And I think that the challenge of inclusion is not less important than others. And what I want you is to help us convincing our leaders, the Israeli leaders, that inclusion is much more important than other issues that they are dealing with. That's for the beginning. Why am I here? You asked me, why am I here? So first you invited me. But seriously, I have a little daughter. Her name is Leah. She's 8.5 years old. She's a great child, and she learned during her kindergarten for 4 years in special education kindergartens. At the age of 7, because she stayed one more year, one additional year in the kindergarten, we needed to get a decision about her future. And her future is not which school she'll go to, but what will happen with her at the age of 21, which is similar to what happens here, because the law of special education ends at the age of 21. And we decided that we want to include her, and we want her at the age of 21 to be independent, at the age of 18 to go to the army, and to start work like every other regular person. And we decided that in order to do it, we need to take her into regular school. She learns now in a small classroom with 8 children, and this is the first thing. The second thing is that, as I said before, I love Israel. I'm a Zionist, and I see that we have a severe problem in Israel regarding inclusion. In Israel, by the way, there is no inclusion, there is integration, and there is a big difference between the two words. And you know that, in my opinion, I hope you'll agree with me. Integration, it means that people with disabilities, we expect people with disabilities to integrate. It's their responsibility. And inclusion is something which the responsibility is divided in between the society and people with disabilities, and it's much more progress. And I think that Israel is stepping towards it, but it's not there yet. And we need to do it, because I think that the part of, or the matter of inclusion is our job. I mean, people, not because I have a daughter with special needs, but the regular people, let's say, okay, forgive me if I'm not politically correct, but the regular people, they have the responsibility to include, to help people with disabilities to be part of the society.
So that's not happening in Israel?
No, look, it's not happening in Israel. No. The answer is no. We're working on it. I understood, and this is the second reason I'm here, because I understood that the main cause, or the main change can happen only if we'll include people with disabilities in the workforce, especially in governmental organizations. Ask me why, right? You said because the decisions about people with disabilities and about everything, in fact, are being taken in the government. And today, there are only 2.2% of the civil servants' employees who are people with disabilities. In Israel, there are about 1.1 million people with disabilities, 330,000 children, and about 791,000 people with severe disability, according to the main statistic bureau in the government.
So that's about 15%.
Not about 15%. Yeah, 15%, and it's a lot. And you know that every time I speak in front of Israeli audience, they are very surprised by the numbers, because it's a lot of people. And you know why they are surprised? Because nobody hears them. They are under the table, very quiet, or being shut down there. And the situation is like this because there are very few people with disabilities who are working in the government. And when I say government, it's not only the ministries. I speak about the municipalities. I speak about hospitals, about governmental companies, and different authorities. There are about 1 million employees in these organizations, my estimation. And people with disabilities are not there. So imagine that every decision about accessibility, every decision about their welfare, their disability welfare, or about their medicines, or about their equipment, or about their lives, is being taken without them. You know the sentence, everything about us without us? So today in Israel, unfortunately, everything about them without them. And we need to change it.
Just to clarify and make sure that everybody keeping up with what you're saying, you've been arguing that there should be far more people working in government services, both national and local, who have disabilities. What's your target point? You're at 2.2% now. What's the target?
Okay, so first, Israel is celebrated 69 years. And many people, when I started the process, it happened 3 years ago. I had a big interview in Yediot Achronot. It's the biggest newspaper in Israel. And I told her my story, about my personal story, and about the fact that I'm hiring 6 people with disabilities, severe disabilities, in my division in the IEC, the Israel Electric Corporation, out of 50. So it's a lot. And then I said that I think there must be a change in this field. And we spoke then about 3%. It was 3 years ago. It made a big change, and many people came to me and asked me to help them get jobs and start work. And it was, and I discovered it's very difficult because of stigmas and other problems of employers. And in fact, what we did is understood that there was a law in Israel which demanded affirmative action and equal chance and many other nice words which have no specific definition of what you talk about. Because when I was in the university, my lecturers didn't come to me and told me, listen, be a good student. They told me if you get 50, you failed, you go out of the course, and if you get 100, you're a very good student. Okay? So this is what we need to do with the government. We don't need to tell them, listen, give them a chance, because it's a word, it's a laundry of words, and 69 years after we initiated not me, but Israel was initiated, nothing happened. Nothing happened because we see the poor numbers, 2.2%. So we need a law. And what do you do with the law? You determine percentage, not number, because everybody has this nice person with disability that everybody which come to visit him, he says, here, I hired someone or a woman or a man with disability.
We call that tokenism.
Token, yes. So it happens a lot because they understand that it's an important thing and it can contribute to their image or whatever. And we started with 3%. Itzik Shmuli, I met him. He's a member of Knesset, a really impressive guy. From the opposition, by the way. He's from the Labour Party. And right after my interview 3 years ago, we met and we spoke, we cried together, so I understood he's a partner. And we wrote a law, we wrote a law, a bill, in fact. And it was put on the Knesset's desk. 81 members of Knesset signed on the law. it's a great deal of number because we have 120 ministers and vice ministers cannot sign on a law because they are part of another authority. So it was about 81 out of 90 which could sign on the law and on the bill. And we succeeded passing it in the government because, you know, we need majority in the Knesset. The majority in the Israeli democracy belongs to the government, unless there is no government. And it passed a committee in the government, and then a Tromic proposal in the Knesset, voting in the Knesset. And then the Knesset there were elections, and everything, all our job was thrown away to the garbage can because everything started from the beginning. And in this Knesset, which was elected about 2 years ago, I decided that first, you know, we need to do it again. So I decided that we need to go to the coalition. We signed on the law 2 members of Knesset from the Likud party, from the party of the Prime Minister, Yoav Kish, who had a child with disability, who died, passed away, and Nurit Koren, and she has a daughter, deaf daughter, and Itzik Shmuli joined them. And in fact, we signed many members of the coalition. And because I'm greedy, not about money, but about percentage, we canceled the 3 and we moved to 5%. Why? Because this is what happens in the world. And why? Because if we get more, let's get more with Israelis.
So, I just want to underscore that Oren was the driving force behind getting this law passed. It's called the Equal Rights for People with Disabilities Law. It was passed in August of 16. And as he said, it sets an expectation of 5% of the workforce for governmental positions for folks with disabilities. And so, we can't relate to this because we haven't seen a law passed in this country in a long time. So, you know, it's good. Good to know that democracy works sometimes. So.
Yeah, it's democracy, but the laws, by the way, started at January 1st, 2017, which is 4 months ago. And each year, the government should add, it's not the government, by the way, because it's municipalities as well. As I told you, there are about, in my opinion, 1 million people, 1 million employees, which this law refers to. So it's about 50,000 jobs that can be opened to people with disabilities. And if we take people with disabilities who can work only half job, or so it may be more. And at 2022, it will come to 5%. And during the discussions in the Knesset, it was in the Welfare Committee in the Knesset, many organizations, governmental organizations, came and said, first they were against the law. Now I understand why there are only 2.2%, because they were against the law, because someone who's against the law, he doesn't want the thing which the law will oblige him to do. So I won't do any shaming to them, but many of them. So they were against. They said that 5% will make them deal with a percentage and not with hiring people with disabilities. And the second argument was that they need time to organize. So I remember myself asking them or telling them that 69 years is a lot of time to organize. They get 5 more additional years to organize. It's enough time. And if they want to find people with disabilities, they just need to look for them. Because as we said before, there are about 791,000 people according to the government.
I want to remind folks that Oren said, and we may not have caught it, that he's with the Israel Electric Company. That's his day job. So all of this advocacy work is in his spare time as an unpaid volunteer. And it shows that not only in Israel, but here as well, that if you put your mind to it, if you advocate, if you build coalitions, you can get an enormous amount done. I want to share with the audience another initiative that's become very successful in the last 2 years. So that was the law. This is something else. It's called Sikui Shaveh, which is, means equal opportunity in Hebrew. And this is an initiative, it's a grassroots Facebook page, which has 40,000 members and followers, and has made great strides in educating Israelis about the issue of equal employment opportunities for people with disabilities. It's also acted as a matchmaking service. And what I'd like to do is to show a clip of this initiative, and then Oren will tell us a little bit about the making of this film after we show it. So can we go over that clip, please?
But till the movie will go up, you can like our page, right? Sikui Shaveh. It's important.
Okay, we'll come back to the clip. We're having technical difficulties, as they say. I want to ask you something. You made it clear, and you said, that's it. You said that you wanted to focus on people who are employed in government, both national and municipal governments, because that's where policy decisions are made, and you wanted those with disabilities around the table to do that. You want to speak to something we talked about at dinner. You want to speak to why you're focusing on the government and not in the private sector.
It's first time my job, what I do for a living is I'm senior vice president for regulation and marketing in the IC, which is the Israeli Electric Corporation. So you can understand that I don't like regulation. I think regulation is a bad thing. So if this is what the way I okay. So if that's my strategy or my point of thinking, then I can't do something which is opposite my opinion. So I think that about private organizations, companies, and things like this, we don't need to oblige them. We need to convince them, only them. But still, there was an initiative that made them hire 3%. It was made by the union, the Histadrut, if you know, it's the national union organization. And Avi Nissankoren, who's the chairman of the Histadrut, has a child who's on the autistic spectrum. And he created an agreement between the Histadrut, between the unions and the employers, which speaks about 3%, obliges them to 3%. The government is now has to hire 5%, but I think that about the private sector, we need to put less regulation. It's not good. And I think that we can convince them with the great advantages of people, of workers with disabilities to the organization. They are very loyal to the organization. They are very trustable, very trustable. They are people who hate risks. So they are not looking for changing works and doing any changes in their lives, so they can work for a long time in their jobs. And they are very proud of what they do. They are very motivated. So I think there are many advantages to organization. And of course, if an organization is working smartly, he can use it for upgrading his image in the public. So these are good things. I think that that we can work with them in this way. The government is a different story.
Thank you. Are we ready? I'll show the clip. Thank you. So tell us about how this was made and where it was shown and what kind of impact you think it had.
Look, as we said before, you said before, we have about 42 already thousand likers on Facebook. We have a staff of 30 volunteers. 20 out of them are people with disabilities, severe disabilities, blind people, CP, deaf, and other disabilities, and 10 others are people, are parents to people to children with disabilities. We are volunteers, all of us. It's not an organization. It's not a non-governmental organization or Quango or whatever you want. It's nothing. No budget, no jobs, no nothing. Everything is volunteers. And one day, about 1 year ago, a group of 4 students from Kiryat Ono, from academic center in Kiryat Ono, which is a city in Israel, approached us and called us and said that they want to help us. And they have a course and they need to do a work, and they decided that they will do a movie about Sikui Shaveh. So we told them that if we can help them, we'll be happy to get the movie. And what they did here is they took pictures of people with disabilities who published their stories in our page. By the way, I call it the J-date of working of people with disabilities, because we publish, on the one hand, stories of people with disabilities who are looking for work, and we're always publishing it with a picture, because we believe that disability is not something to be shy with. And on the other hand, we publish offers of work from many companies which contact us and want to publish. And as I said before, we don't believe in affirmative actions and word laundry like this. We publish only jobs that are unique for people with disabilities, okay? So it's not something which they will get that they will get equal chance or something like this. So this movie, in fact, is something voluntarily done, and it was published on TV, and on other platforms in the media. It made big noise in Israel. Very simple, very, it's elementary. Nothing, no money in it, and that's it.
Could I ask you to clarify something that I didn't understand? You said you don't believe in affirmative action, and these were jobs that were specifically for people with disabilities. Can you help us understand that?
Yes, there's a mistrust between people with disabilities and the workforce, okay, and the employers. In Israel, at least, I don't know what happens in the world. Why? Because, very simple, they don't work, they don't succeed to find work. So, in fact, what they do, they lost their trust in the Israeli workforce, work market.
People with disabilities.
People with disabilities. They lost their trust. It happens because once you send your CV several times, maybe even dozens of times, to many companies, and you don't get the job, or you get the job, and then when you come and they see that you're using a wheelchair, then they tell you, listen, we need, she's going to be a secretary, okay? So she needs to make coffee and needs to clean the office later after the end of the day. Like, they find excuses not to get him or her to work. So this is, by the way, why we need a law. But the law is not enough. We need to make job offers which are only for people with disabilities, and this is a way to to create a new trust or a new faith, I don't know, between this population and in fact, companies in Israel. By the way, the same about the government, because once they'll publish a job offer and won't write there or won't say in a very clear way that it's only for people with disabilities, and not only secretaries, lawyers, legal advisors, economists, and other jobs which are important and more senior, it won't happen. And this is another fight. It happens, by the way. Now it's starting it starts in Israel now.
Thank you. We waited for the second clip. Can we we'll cue that up, please? There's a particular story. I think so much of this is about highlighting the individual. We talk about numbers, but here's a quick clip about an individual who worked at the Israel Electric Corporation. It's a powerful story.
תזכיר לי כמה זה? 3-0?
בשנת 2002 התרחש פיגוע. אוטובוס שהיה בדרכו להר מירון התפוצץ.
אבל בואו, זה משחק לפני שלנו, בוא נעזור לך. לא, זהו, די, אני חייב לחזור לעבוד. יאללה, אני אתראה שבוע הבא. ביי, להתראות. חשוב מאוד.
מי שניצח במשחק הששבש הוא אייל. אז חייל שהיה בדרכו לבסיס. כתוצאה מהפיגוע איבד אייל את ראייתו וחלק לא מבוטל משמיעתו. אך את רוחו הוא לא איבד. חלפו הרבה מאוד שנים מאז אותו פיגוע. בשנים הללו אייל הספיק להתחתן, להקים משפחה, להיות אבא למופת, ואפילו לפרנס את משפחתו בכבוד. אייל הוא עובד מצטיין בחברת החשמל. כמו אייל, יש עוד מאות אלפי איילים, אלא שרובם, ובניגוד אליו, לא מועסקים. הגיע הזמן לתת להם את ההזדמנות הזו, את הסיכוי השווה הזה. ואגב, לא מרחמים או כי הם מסכנים או שאנחנו עושים להם טובה. להפך, אם כבר, הם עושים לנו טובה.
אז אתה תתעורר, קצת שונה, קצת אחר, עוצם עיניים לפעמים, ומסתכל בפנים, יש רגעים שמבינים.
So, Oren, I want to open up to questions quickly, because I think some of what you're saying is resonating with many of us and sounds familiar, and other things I think are very different than what we are seeing here in the States, and I want to at least open up to questions about that. But I do have one final question for you, and that is, with what you hear as a changemaker, we call you an icon, so good luck with that. But I'm sure you want to be a successful changemaker. So what does success look like?
Look, first, can I say something about this? Eyal works for me, and when I first met him, he's a great guy. He has 2 children. He got married. He's a real winner. But when I first met him, I asked him a question that, you understood already, that I understand something about people with disabilities, about how they can work and their possible contribution to the society and, of course, to the economics. But I asked him, listen, the IC is a crazy company. Everything there goes with emails. So how can you deal with it? Because you don't see, he doesn't have eyes. He doesn't have eyes. And he told me, what's the problem? I have a special software which reads me all the documents. Now, what I understood afterwards is that if I ask him the questions, it means that many employers are sometimes stigmatic or just doesn't understand enough that technology can overcome every disability. Lately I met a child, 13 years old, an Israeli one, who lost his two hands because he played next to electricity facility. And he lost his two hands. He doesn't have any hands. And he flew to the United States and he got bionic hands. And he was going with the iPhone, with his iPhone, like, you know, like I'm doing now, playing and shaking hands. He has, I think, even better hands than me because mine sometimes they hurt me or something. So technology can overcome every disability. It can't overcome stigmas and prejudice of employers who see not the person but the disability. And this is something we have to face. It's related to your question about what's success. One more thing, there is a research of the Ministry of Economy, the Israeli Ministry of Economy, which determines that the Israeli market is losing every year 5 billion shekels, which are about to $1.5 billion, because people with disabilities are not working. Okay, so we're not speaking about welfare, about mercy, about poor people. We're speaking about a great power to the Israeli economy, about a possibility to create growth in the Israeli economy. It's logical. Now, what's success, as I see it? I think that a law is only a measure. It's not a target. The target is implementing the 5% employment of people with disabilities in governmental offices, in municipalities, and etc. And this also is a measure because my success, in my point of view, our success, not my success, our success will be if we'll succeed changing the way decisions in Israel about people with disabilities is being taken. It means that people with disabilities will be part of the decision-making process which regards them. And it will happen only, as I told you before, they will work in the government and be part of the process. Today, what they do is that they advocate after or lobby after the decision was taken. Once the decision was taken, the arrow was fired, and we all know where it goes to. They need to be part of the decision before it was taken, and it will happen only when they will be part of the system, and part of the system is implementing the law. So everything is, it's step by step. The success will be when Israel will be an inclusive. Now, we drove here by train, and we saw the accessibility, which is, I think it's much better than Israel. And you said that it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. But I think that Israel will be much more inclusive if the law will be implemented. By the way, in Israel, a law with no sanctions is only a recommendation. So there are sanctions. It's not a recommendation. And if, as I told the officials that I'm speaking to, in 2022, 5% of the people, of the employees in the governments won't be 5% of the teachers, 5% of the judges, 5% of the social security won't be people with disabilities. They will need to explain it in the Supreme Court, the Israeli Supreme Court. Very simple, because now there's a law. And I think that in the Israeli system, that what's not going with power will go with more power. That's the way. And we'll fight till the end.
Please join me in thanking Oren for his vision and his passion. Let's open up to questions. I know there's some mics around. John, out there, is that working? There you go. Got some hands here. There you go, please. You want to tell us your name first?
Yes, my name is Oren Helman, and I was born with my disability, cerebral palsy, and I work for the federal government. I'm a lawyer. I was one of the first law students at the University of Michigan with a substantial ability impairment. And I can talk here about my feelings about employment of people with disabilities. But I have a question regarding, okay, you get people in the door through this 5% job, requirement. But then the issue is, because I've seen it in America, you get people in the door, but then people are passed over for promotions, and they're kind of held in at least in America, possibly in lower paying jobs. Does your law have any teeth to it to make sure that people aren't just in like the lowest, lowest accessible job, that people would have a chance to learn and grow like every other employee? I'm not that familiar with Israel's employment job market situation. And the other thing too is I've seen in my experience in America is that sometimes people with like very insubstantial disabilities, are still counted as disabled, but then the people that the law is really targeting, are still on the sidelines. They're not being given the opportunity because someone with a small learning disability, an employer might choose to hire them and still meet the target quota of 5%, and leave someone like me who has a more obvious disability, waiting, on the unemployment market. Thank you.
Okay, so I think you're right, and I think that first we need to open the door, okay? It started the same with women who couldn't vote, who couldn't be part of this democracy process, and once you put people or people with disabilities in the system, they start, they can go up to high positions. But what we're doing now is that we're working with the government on lists of data lists, okay, of people with disabilities who are lawyers, people with disabilities who are economics, who are accountants, and engineers, and other positions, other skills that we can put them, or they can put them in high rank offices. So I think that this is the solution to what you said. I agree, and we're working on it. But it's part of the we don't need only 5% and take them all to clean rooms. Okay, this is not the meaning, and everybody understands it. And this is a discourse. It's not something about let's do them a favor.
Thank you.
First of all, let me make sure you can understand me. Am I communicating okay? I am a common, and then the question first, my comment is that what you're talking about and what you have been trying to do is great. And the 5%, but there is much of it. But you have to go below that and think about attitude. But with the attitude of a person looking at people with disabilities, but in your police system, and but the language that is used to describe people with disabilities, use the word severe disability, then talk about deaf people, blind people. I'm deaf, I've been deaf all my life, and I do not consider myself as having a severe disability. And I think that language is the kind of language that most people are difficult, uncomfortable, so we have to talk about how we convey that information. That's my comment. My Crossman, in the movie, he showed a veteran who's now looking for the company. Especially the attitude of people in Israel who are veterans, who have fought in life, who have come out of peace work with disabilities, have been pushed away in Israeli society.
In the company? In the company?
They pushed away in society, the veterans, the wounded veterans.
Look, okay, first to your comment, so when I speak about severe, I speak about the determination of the law, okay? Severe in the law is 40% and more. It's not total loss. 40% disability, sorry? That's the determination of the social security in Israel. That's the determination. It means that it's not severe or it can be much less than totally deaf or blind. It can be people with disabilities with let's say, not very, very severe disability. It's the determination. This is the only way you can legislate a law. You need to be...
I think this is where the language is different between our country and Israel.
Yes. About the society, there are many stigmas in Israel. The numbers are bad. The statistics are bad, and we had some polls. I won't speak about now because we don't have time, but the situation is not good, and we're trying to change it. We're trying to change it by putting it in the agenda, by putting it in the media, by showing success stories of people with disabilities who succeeded in being included in the workforce. And about Eyal, for example, who's really in a situation which is not that good, when he started working, I was afraid that he's going to be alone, that he's going to be isolated. Now, his table in the dining room of the IC is the fullest. Okay, every day someone is taking him to the dining room. Everybody is sitting with him, talking to him, and he's doing great job in the society. So it means that once he got or we opened the door for him, in fact, everybody understood that, wow, he can't see, but he's a great guy, interesting, he has a great story, and we're taking him to speak to other groups of employees in the IC, in the Israeli Electric Corporation, and we use him in order to להסביר, to promote the subject, and others as well. So there's lots of work to do, but I think we're on the right direction.
I think you are too. I'm going to add a number of hands up, but I've been told that we have to cut. Do you want me to change that? We'll make that the final question. Go ahead, please. And then I urge you to please, Oren will be here. I urge you to ask your questions in person. But please, the last question. Go ahead.
My name is Judy, and I'm a former Alabama appointee. So I worked in the Department of Justice, in the Department of State till January. Previously worked in the Department of Education. I'm interested to know what systems you have in place to help advance to the 5%. In the United States, we have through the Office of Personnel Management the requirement that all federal agencies have staff who will be involved in the issue of recruitment of disabled individuals, as well as addressing the issue of once an individual comes into a government agency, the ability to move forward within the agency. And now some changes have come about through the Equal Employment Opportunities Commission, which is the federal agency that oversees employment-related issues, stated that funding requires to be collected billing by all the agencies to be able to track more effectively what actually is happening. So I'm wondering internally within the Israeli
Okay, thank you. It's a long question, and the answer is supposed to be longer, so we don't have much time, but I'll tell you that our model, and it's in my presentation which I use, is what Obama did when he was elected. After the subprime crisis, he understood, in fact, that there is a big fall in the engagement in the workforce in the United States, and in fact what he did, he understood that there were many agencies which were dealing with people with disabilities, and he needed to make a unite policy towards them. Then he created initiated a committee. Okay, and he was the chairman, and he appointed someone else instead of him. This is the problem in Israel. We have about 8 ministries, 8 governmental ministries who are dealing with people with disabilities. They are not coordinated between them. They don't have any united policy towards people with disabilities. And as I said before, lots of things must be done. But what we do is, in fact, we use the media, and we use the agenda and the social media in order to put pressure on the decision makers in Israel, in order, and you too, if you'll meet people, leaders from Israel, so they'll understand that it's the interest of the state of Israel, not the interest of people with disabilities. It's the interest of the Israeli economy, of the Israeli society, of Israel itself, to include people with disabilities, because we lose, and I speak, it's the state controller said that we lose 5 billion shekels a year because people with disabilities are not included in the workforce. It's a fight. I think it's a fight. It's a big war, and we need to win it. And I think that the 5% is, as I said, you asked me what a success, and you heard what I said. It's not a success for me. I'm not going to sleep now. First, because I have a jet lag, but so I'm not going to sleep. We're going to keep on fighting in order for this law to be implemented in all jobs, not only the low jobs. And there are many other things we didn't speak about that we're working about, some blocks that we're trying to remove from people with disabilities to start work.
Thank you. Once again, let's thank Owen for being here tonight. I want to come on up. We have some very special guests. You're all special guests. So we have some special folks who are here from Israel as part of our revolutionizing program. And so please tell us about that.
All right, so let's give one more round of applause to our Changemaker. Thank you so much for leading us. There's an incredible discussion, just a really unique glimpse into Israel's advances in disability inclusion, and so we thank you for being here. Thank you to all of you for attending Imagine Israel's Changemakers series. I'm Carly Schildhaus, and I serve as co-chair of Federation's Next DC Committee, co-chair of Federation's Reverse Mifgash Committee, and as a member of Federation's Young Leadership Board. Tonight's program was truly inspiring, and we hope your exploration of Israel doesn't end at the conclusion of the program this evening. Through the Imagine Israel initiative, you can continue to engage with, learn about, and connect to Israel through our podcasts and blog posts. I want to also personally invite you to take part in the many exciting community events we have this week as part of Reverse Mifgash, which is a reverse birthright of sorts, where 11 Israeli birthright alums visit DC for a 10-day immersive experience. Our 11 Israeli visitors arrived here in DC yesterday, and we're super happy to have them here with us tonight. You can find more information on postcards in the back about Reverse Mifgash, and please introduce yourselves to our Israeli friends and welcome them on the second very long, I think, day of their trip. Lastly, I want to thank you all for your support of the Jewish Federation, including your $18 donation to attend tonight's program. Your support helps to provide over $10 million in local funding and over $6 million to support a variety of causes in Israel and in communities across the world, ranging from services for seniors, employment assistance, and programs for at-risk children. Included in this funding is support for Incorporate Israel, a new program developed to integrate Israelis with various types of disabilities into Israel's corporate workforce. Currently working with 45 employers in Israel, Incorporate Israel works closely with HR departments and senior executives to create opportunities within their organizations and to find the right person to fill the position. So thank you again for your support. We now invite you to join us for some desserts in the back of the room here. Please take a minute to explore all of our Imagine Israel programs and our upcoming Reverse Mifgash events. And as we continue to develop our Imagine Israel initiative, we welcome your feedback. So please take a moment to fill out a very brief questionnaire card outside during the reception. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope to see a lot of you at more Reverse Mifgash events.